Good evening, everybody. I am Str8JaktJim.
And I'm Natty. Hey, how you going, Jim?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing, Natty?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm still improving from this cough. I will get rid of it one day. I will be plague-free one
Yeah,
day.
know what you mean. Like, I've come down with something as well, but that's okay because we got a show to do and the show must go on.
We
One
do, yes.
one thing I did forget to mention in our pre-show is we got to read.
Wait, we've
We
got to
got
read?
Yeah, we got to read.
No way.
Yeah, because normally this would happen in the podcast, but if you're being observant, the podcast hasn't happened tonight.
No.
But we're here and we're going to do it. So, let's go. Game On Aus is brought to you by GeForce Now, powered by Pentanet. The world's most powerful cloud gaming system has arrived in Australia this October, and its potential is limitless. Level up the way you play using remote NVIDIA GeForce computing to game in real time, anywhere, on any device. Register now at www.cloud.gg. That's pretty cool. I'm hanging out for that GeForce Now powered by Pentanet. It looks so cool.
Yeah, I have been following along with your journey of doing all your quests. And I must admit, I kind of stopped doing them, so I should probably go back to them.
Well, the good thing for me is that they unlock every Wednesday, so then it's just in time for after like the podcast finishes and nuts and bolts finished. I can go in there and go, oh look, we'll do this now. It's actually really good timing.
Oh, it's good. You can take all of us along on your journey.
That's it. But you can actually, because we've actually got a special deal for our Goa members as well, where if you're a Goa member, you actually get into the beta for GeForce Now anyway. So maybe you should sign up. That $11 a month gets you access to a whole heap of other stuff as well, like some mentoring sessions with some of the Goa team, some discounts, monthly content sessions as well. It's really cool.
Well, you've got me.
Yep.
Let's
Sign up. Do it now. In fact, well, in chat, let's
do our sign up.
That's it. Go check that out. Click that link. Become a legend and join us and go. You get your own special Discord channel as well. It's really, really cool little club that we have there.
Yeah, I kind of get a bit envious of the people that bought the people that aren't in there, because I'll jump in there and have a look sometimes. It's like, oh my God, this chat is going off.
So good. You know what else was going off? Over the weekend, Six Mexico Major Grand Final.
Oh my goodness.
Team 1 from Brazil versus Empire from Russia. Oh my God, it was so good to watch. If you haven't already, the VOD's up on the Rainbow Six Twitch channel. I've watched it over the last 2 days, and it was just a fantastic game. For Team 1, who weren't a team 6 months ago. That was a little bit crazy to come in and be in a grand final. From hearing the casters talk about it, they were in the group stages. They were one what's the right word? One match away from not making it. So to the point where they won a match 7-2, and if they'd won it 7-3, they wouldn't have made it in.
Oh, wow.
That's how close they were to not getting out of group stages. But I do have something that we're going to show you just quickly. The last little bit of the game.
It looks like Team 1 have it within their grasp. A small entry point for Team Empire to get in, and they'll fight back and forth. Levy doesn't see it. Down goes Ali Mal. All it is Lagonis in a 1v2 as Empire need to get that.
I'm always so amazed how, like, observers work.
Oh.
Like, how they know where to follow the action in the right place. It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. But even, like, the players, like, how closely they are. Like, you see the sights. They're lined up right along that wall. And it's crazy. And sorry, I probably should have said spoiler alert, but this shows you who won, and it was Team 1 took it out. But just the way this goes, they get down to an effective 2v1 because someone's downed and there's no way they'll get into him. And yeah, just managing to take it out. And I do want to point out Alimo's pink shorts and thongs that he was wearing on there, because they speak to me on a very personal level.
Yeah, maybe he was embracing some of the Aussie culture as we're doing our culture swaps at the moment.
That's it. But yeah, it was a really close game. Got forced out to 5 games. So first one, Empire won 7-2, then 1-1. It's going to be so like 1-1 was on horse, 2-2 was 1-2. Yeah. Then won the next game 7-2. Then the third game went to overtime, which one came out ahead. Empire hit back. Empire struck back, as I might say, if I'm allowed to coin a phrase there.
I will allow this, yes.
They came back 7-3, and then in the last game, 1-1, 7-1. So apart from that one that went to tiebreaker, it wasn't all that close in the games. Like when a team seemed to get the advantage, they went for it. And it was really cool to see.
Yeah. I think it was interesting because we were looking at the group's results last week, and it was like quite close, except for that one bracket with Fnatic. Everybody was having like 7-5 kind of matchups. So it's interesting to see it go that way for the grand finals.
And just especially in that last game, and I really love to see it because there is a bit in professional sports in general, not just esports, but sports in general, where you're trying not to show emotion, and it's an emotional game. Like you ride the highs of your emotions and the lows as well. If you're not mentally in the game, it affects you. But every time that one won a game, they were cheering for themselves. Like they knew exactly what they had to do. And it did remind me a little bit of PGG when they went to MSI earlier in the year, where they were just they were there and they were having fun, and that's what it looked like for one. It looked like when guys, who cares? We got here, let's have some fun, and I think that helps a lot for your mental game. If you're just there, you're relaxed, then that's a lot of the battle, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. And maybe that's a benefit for them being a new team. They weren't expecting to make it. They didn't have high expectations on themselves. So they would just be able to take it as it comes and kind of relax a bit more through the experience. Who knows? Sometimes the secret's in the individuals in the team rather than something else that we are not sure about. So
yeah, and it's one thing I've seen a lot through, like I've always been a big sports person, and making the transition to esports has been really cool, and seeing the parallels between I don't know, I want to call them all sports, because that like calling one physical sports and one esports, just because there's still physical demands when you're playing an esport.
Yeah, I always have this argument with people about athletes, like are esports players athletes, and
well, they are. They train. They do everything. They even go to gyms and stuff like that, because there's benefits from having physical fitness, and it lets you think quicker and that sort of stuff. So there are benefits to getting the blood flowing and doing that sort of thing. So you would call them athletes. And to me, there's always a difference between a team of champions and a champion team.
Absolutely. Yeah. And maybe because it was a new team for them as well, maybe they just had really good support staff that was also riding that emotional wave as well. Certainly if it's going in your favor, the momentum can build really easily. And if you've got nobody being protective and holding back, that could have helped them ride through.
Yeah. Definitely. I do also have to say congratulations to Levy from Team 1, who picked up the MVP of the tournament as well. So well done to him. Cool.
Yeah.
And a special congratulations to Neskin, who managed to get 5 kills in one of the rounds in the grand final. Unfortunately, one of them was a team kill. He was just a little bit too trigger happy. But that's the attitude that one had in that last game on Villa there. Like they were going for it, and Neskin got a little bit too quick for himself and had pulled the trigger before he realised what was happening. But it was a really great game to watch. I'm glad it went to 5 games. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something really unique about watching Siege. The way the gameplay is quite careful and meticulous, but also does allow for those kind of rush plays and fast moments as well. So, bring on the next season already.
Oh yeah, well that's another thing with winning that tournament. Team One has earned enough. I think what they call invitational points to qualify for the Six Invitational. So they've already made it into the next competition, international competition.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's really good.
That's great momentum for them. Hopefully they can carry it through. I mean, yeah, as you said before, amazing for a new team.
Yeah, and hopefully, because with the young players, you can see them sticking around for a while to come.
Oh, yeah, of course that momentum is there as well. Like, hopefully they all stay on rather than getting poached by other teams.
Fingers crossed they can keep together as a core group and continue that momentum. But yes, but something else that's been around for a while is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and recently it's had its release for the remaster of Pro Skater 1 and 2. And you were telling me about a what I'm going to call it a unique event that's happened recently.
Yeah. So Tony Hawk Pro Skater, they teamed with Order in Australia to host a tournament that was hosted on Fuel TV and on Twitch. So we got to see lots of different action from the best players in Australia, which was very cool. A few different game modes running. And Renton Miller, for those of you who are skaters, will be familiar with that name. He was co-hosting the event with... what's his name? Maniac. He's one of our Rainbow Six casters, and they just had a ball with it, with Renton providing all the technical commentary and Maniac running along with the regular commentary, which was very, very cool. And we've just gotten an update to press releases because I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but we've got some extra information about some world records that were broken during the event and who came out on top for all of the divisions as well.
Yeah, so I was having a bit of a read of that myself. So there were three contests that were happening. There was Jam, which was best trick and solo score. Best trick and attack score. There was also combo for the highest single combo, and a speed run of Warehouse, so the fastest to finish that. And looking at it, the same person won Jam and combo, a guy called Boucher from New Zealand, which for the Jam he got over 72 million points. I haven't really played Tony Hawk, so I don't know if it sounds like a lot. So I'm going to say that was amazing.
Yes.
And then for combo, he got almost 170 million points. That's ridiculous.
I remember when I used to play with my friends and we'd do like pass the controller around, and we were not quite that much.
Not quite, just a little bit below. Yeah,
just a little bit shy than the pros.
And also the speed run, which was of Warehouse, which was done in 48 seconds and 85 milliseconds, was run by, and I'm going to say this the way that it is because he's an Aussie, Crofty Mate.
Crofty,
come on, mate, come on. So he won that, and we've got a little bit of footage to show you there as well. Let me flick back to here. So this is the last little bit of the speed run.
Just in front now, you've got to remember there's only about 10 seconds left of this run, so it's whoever gets there at the end. They are literally neck and neck, Renton. This is absolutely ridiculous. Who comes out on top?
There you go, have a look at that. That is like 0.3 of a second between them. It was crazy.
He's got it. He's won. He's the champ.
Crofty Mate. Yeah, I think I was hearing like these two that came first and second were like second and third in the world records as well. So that was crazy close. And I do want to say as well that guy that they were racing against there, that Little Ugly Kane, there was an award at the end called Renton Miller Award that was awarded to Little Ugly Kane for outstanding performance across the entire competition, because he was the only performer to get into all three grand finals.
Oh, good on him.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So congratulations to him on that amazing achievement just right there.
How good is it that like we've got Aussies and New Zealanders that are like best in the world, like breaking world records?
It's so good. Like, I've always known that we're good. Oh, the Oceanic region is amazing.
It is. What I also really appreciate is last year I got to attend the Esports Bar, which is a esports conference event, and it opened with Tony Hawk and one of the executives from the game developer, and they were talking about how they wanted to build up esports and how they were looking at building it up from the grassroots, and they were really getting involved with Reddit communities and all the people that were already involved with the game just to start developing esports, and it's just been so exciting to see it come to fruition here.
That's awesome, and I love that it's getting more attention. Like, I know here in Perth as well that there's a bar that just opened recently that myself and Grumpy Goron and Pete were able to go and see. That has its own little esports stadium as well. And I know over the weekend, sorry, excuse me, over the weekend, one of our community members, Mercury, who does a lot of casting as well, casted an event there too. So it was, for its first weekend open, it sounded like it was like a really amazing little venue, and I'm looking forward to seeing more and attending a few myself.
Yeah. I keep getting a little bit down because of all the situation with COVID at the moment, but then there's little kind of hotspots and bright spark moments like that which really show the potential of the esports future we've got ahead of us.
Yeah. And it is growing. It's going to take a little while, but we will get there. Like in Australia, we've got places like Fortress Melbourne that I know World of Tanks uses a lot for their events. Is there anything in Adelaide that opens up for that sort of thing?
No. There's been, if not that I'm in the circles, but I'm on the periphery of the circles where they've been trying to get some stuff off the ground. But we have a strong history of red tape when it comes to development and stuff across the state. So there's some powerful people working on it, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, getting there, but not quite there. Yeah, and it does take time, especially when people are used to things like, let's build an oval and that's where you watch sport, or let's build a stadium and that's where you watch sport. And it would be amazing to see esports fill out somewhere like the MCG and have 100,000 people watching an esports tournament happening there. But it's still a long way off that thing, even though you get so many viewers for, like, I've got the LCO going on in the background at the moment because it's in game 3 of a game to decide who's going to play PGG in the grand final, and they've got 10,000 people sitting there watching. It's
the viewership's there for sure. And one thing I really like and what I've been seeing a lot of is the universities kind of investing. So obviously in Perth you've got Murdoch they're putting a lot of money in esports. In Adelaide, most of the universities have esports teams, and I know Adelaide Uni in particular have been kitting out their esports hub at the end of last year. So it's growing, it's getting there.
yeah that's it, and it will only grow. But speaking of the LCO, like I said, I think when did we? Oh, that's right, because the last week PGG were playing against Direwolves while we were talking.
They were.
And PGG won, so they're in the grand final next week. But since then, there's been a game between Order and Peace as well. So that was to decide who was going to play Direwolves tonight. Order bolted out, they won the first 2 games really quite convincingly, and then Peace just must have gone, you know what, we're not stopping here, this is not the end of our season, and come back and completed the reverse sweep and ended up winning 2-3.
Yeah, which we hadn't seen in the playoffs yet, because we'd seen a lot of sweeps, but certainly not that comeback. So really exciting. Yeah, I don't know what put a fire under them, but something did, and they went for it.
Oh yeah, and they're still looking good. Like, in the last 3 minutes of having it up and on the side to watch it, Peace have had 2 aces against Direwoods.
Oh, wow!
It's very quickly coming to a close there, but it's a little crazy to see that these are the teams that have come in, and these are supposed to be the top 5 teams in Oceania, but apart from the Order Peace game last night, they've all been 3-0, and the Direwolves Peace game just finished. Peace won that one 3-0 as well, so it's. I mean, good for PGG because, we'll just get a 3-0 win next week. But
that's your prediction? 3-0 against Direwolves?
That's it.
Peace.
Yeah, 3-0 against Peace. Well, look, it's an interesting thing how teams can just come out and do that. And I don't know whether it's teams not used to playing the best of 5 format because it's always best of 1 during the regular split. But yeah, it's an interesting thing where these are this is what happens with the 3-0s.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a trend with it. I don't recall this happening last split, but it would be interesting to go back and see if there's, some kind of mindset thing that happens in the finals where if you lose your momentum, you're just like, oh, well, that's it. Like, you kind of take your hands off the wheel early. But, that being said, we saw something completely different with Order and Peace. So who knows? It certainly makes for an interesting grand final.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the same grand final we had last split as well, Peace and PGG. And PGG had to work for it, so I think we're in for some quality games next week.
Which is, I mean, it's been exciting in that I think it's setting up for an interesting grand final, because Peace and PGG both have had some dominant performances throughout the season, but have also had a couple of games where they've been caught up. So it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup.
And also on that, if you're in Perth, PGG have actually hired out a cinema up in Warwick. Tickets are still available through the pentanet.gg Facebook page. You can get information on that there, and I'm going to try and make it, but it just so happens to be my dad's birthday that same day, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get away with that. I might convince
your dad to move his birthday. It'll be
fine. Yeah, that's it. Or I might just convince him.
How many has he had now?
Oh yeah, well that's it. He's had a few, so but I'm going to see if I can convince him to at least put it on the telly, and I can try and talk through why the games are like that, and
Is your dad into sports?
He is. He's a big AFL man and big cricket man. Played those when he was younger.
Convince him.
Might be able to at least say these are what they're doing and these are a little bit of the tactics behind them. So you never know. Might be able to get there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there's a lot of, not speaking as a huge sports fan, but there's certainly a lot of crossovers you can make there, especially it being a team sport as well.
Oh yeah, there are definitely parallels that you can draw between them, and I think that's why I've transitioned into esports fairly well, is because, like I said, I'm a big sports fan. I still play hockey myself on the weekends, and I just am watching them. And when you got a horse in the race, it's always more interesting as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But just quickly, one little bit before we move on, because there's something that we wanted to have a bit of a chat about, and we sort of touched on it with the viewers and the money that's in esports. But there was rumours circulating yesterday that the Worlds for League of Legends were going to be moved from China to somewhere in Europe. Today that has been confirmed. They haven't got named where in Europe it's being moved to just yet, but it is definitely not going to be in China anymore. So keep your ears peeled for when that gets announced.
Yeah, I want to speculate, but I know it's useless because it could be anywhere. It could be absolutely anywhere.
Could be back in Iceland again,
Oh, yeah, I guess Iceland is part of Europe. I don't know why my brain was like, is that in Europe?
Yeah.
Yep.
So back to Reykjavik and where MSI was, and was it Reykjavik or was it some other
Oh, no,
unpronounceable?
that's it. You got
Yeah,
it. Yep.
yeah. But yeah. So keep an eye out for that. But
Mm,
one thing that we were both keen to have a little bit of a chat on is about advertisers looking to reach out to younger market. Should they be putting their money into esports?
yeah, like this was a really, really interesting report that came out. So you had Jack Kennedy from the YouGov Australia group pulling together this research basically on different kinds of audience profiles for traditional sports in Australia, so AFL and rugby and those kinds of things, and then comparing that to esports. And the other really cool thing that we'll go through and have a look at as well is specific campaigns that have run through esports with traditional advertisers, and looking at, you know, things like spend and what impact that's had. So yeah, Jim's awesome. He's got the article up there. I don't know if we want to go to the first lovely little
Well,
age graph just to
yeah,
have a look at the
I
different spread of ages.
I,
Yeah.
I think it's a very good thing to introduce, and we'll have to preface this with this is all the data that has been gathered by YouGov, which is not an Australian government body. I think
No.
they're a private body, so even though they've got gov in the title, it's a private firm that's been doing all of this. But from their data, there was 5.37 million Australians 18 plus that have an interest in esports, and compare that to AFL and NRL, so Australian rules football, and rugby league in Australia, so not rugby union. There's 10.8 million that are interested in AFL and 6.32 million that are interested in NRL. And I find that really interesting because in terms of sports that are played that people are interested in, I think the NRL is like one of the big ones in Australia, and esports is less than a million off that. What's that? Just under a million off that. So that's quite interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to have a perfectly fair comparison when they're bundling all different esports together. And I think, well, I really look forward to a future where we get a little bit more of a breakdown on maybe FPS fans versus MOBA fans versus, you know, other kinds of esports that are popping up.
Yeah.
But it's still really interesting, yeah, when you're comparing it to the major sports codes in Australia, and esports isn't too far behind.
It's also really interesting in this age breakdown that they've got that esports wins out up until around 44, 45. And then AFL and NRL starts to have the bigger lead, which particularly in the over 55s, which you'd kind of expect because
Yeah.
the video games. I think I saw something where Pong turns 50 next year, and Pong's widely regarded as one of the first video games. So these are the
Oh,
people
no
that probably would
way.
have grown up with maybe Pong. But this era, like 35, this is the 35th anniversary of Zelda this year. So this is, this is where gaming really started taking off.
Yeah. And I think as well, something that was really exciting with the Tony Hawk Pro Skater esports event was that it was on Fuel TV. So there's a little bit, I think, around that technology accessibility piece where we're not seeing that much esports on regular TV, which is what maybe the older populations are watching. I know if I talk to my parents about Twitch, they probably wouldn't know what I was talking about, which is probably my fault. But I think accessibility does play into it a little bit there as well.
It's the circles you move in as well, though, because even myself personally, like I'm been streaming for like a couple of years now, but I didn't know what Twitch was until probably 3 or 4 years ago. So
Oh, no
yeah,
way.
yeah,
So
and
it's not even age related,
no,
really.
it's just a you know what you know, and like because traditional TV, like the freaking guide gets put in the newspaper. You know, people know
Yeah.
what TV is, and discoverability on on the internet. If you don't know what it is, then you don't know what to search for. And like when you try and say what live streaming is to people go, "Oh, you're watching Netflix or something." I go, well, no, that's not it. Like, we're broadcasting, but it's live. You know, it's something interesting that you can discuss. I'm going to skip on to the next point, I think. Sorry, because I with some interesting points there, but getting a little bit off topic from from esports. Yeah. But also, I find this personal monthly disposable income thing interesting.
I really find it interesting too.
Yeah.
That you're looking at esports fans having like a majority share in all brackets of the expendable income.
Yeah.
Which I don't honestly, this data set doesn't quite make perfect sense to me.
No, and
what it says to me is that esports fans have more expendable income across all brackets, and it feels like a weird phenomenon. It
says to me esports fans can't really budget that well, because I know I look at my own expenditure, and after I pay my mortgage and I know how much I have to save to pay my bills, in terms of disposable income a month, I would be in that first bracket.
Yeah, I feel like I want to have a economic data scientist to discuss this with me as far as a phenomena, because is this something where we consider expendable income differently, like?
Well, and it's disposable income as well. Like, I just wanted to read up to see if there was anything there, but they don't really say much about disposable income, because
how they define it.
Yeah, disposable income to me says that's what's available after you paid your bills and your mortgage and stuff like that. But yeah, it almost reads like disposable income is almost your net income, which is, if you're going to call it net, then that's fine, but disposable income sort of means something else to me.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate it a little bit more with the paragraph they've got underneath here, where they're talking about specific measures. So stuff like 22% of esports fans are looking to buy a car within the next 12 months, which being an esports fan, I'm not looking to buy a car in the next 12 months.
I probably should be, but I'm not. Yeah.
I've had the same car for over 20 years. I'm never getting rid of her. But like almost 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 esports fans looking at buying a car. Like, if you're somebody who is selling cars, this screams at me those kinds of numbers. Like, why, if you're Audi or Toyota or whoever, why are you not pouring your money into it? And I mean, we've seen here putting money into esports partnerships overseas, and a couple of car manufacturers moving into the space. So,
well, like Damn One Gaming is Damn One Kia now.
Yeah. So, I appreciated that paragraph underneath it a little bit more, because it put it in a little bit more context. But it's interesting.
I always find this advertising helps me choose what I buy stat, like, because I generally don't think I'm influenced by ads, like, but then again, I still remember 13, 30, 32. And,
Yes. For me, especially when we're looking at something like esports, I know when the LCO was sponsored by DoorDash, I swapped to DoorDash as my primary food delivery service, because they were supporting local esports. I wanted to support them, and it doesn't mean I'm always using DoorDash, but it does mean that I'm going to check there first.
Yeah.
Same with the Rainbow Six sponsorships with Snap Fitness here. I was looking to join a gym. They were like, Snap Fitness. I'm like, cool, there's one of those around the corner from me. I mean, I probably wouldn't have joined up if there wasn't one around the corner from me, but it kind of put the idea in my head to
do it.
Let's do it. So maybe I'm a little bit more susceptible than you are, but you know, it also comes into that if the messaging's there at the right time when I'm ready to spend money.
Well, I also
it's going to influence my decision. Yeah.
I also think it's a little bit around what you're engaged with. Like, we've been trained for years, when we watch TV, we switch off when the ads come on. That's even if you still watch TV. That's when you run to the toilet, where you go and get a snack, where you do this and do that. Whereas with ads on esports, especially when they're on Twitch, I find they're more sort of in a little banner message that pops up. So they're there, they're not as intrusive. It's things like when someone gets the Baron in League of Legends, it's like the DoorDash Baron power play or whatever it is. So, you know, it puts the message out there, and I feel it has to be relatively targeted as well. Like, there's no point in putting, you know, retirement insurance ad in for esports, because as we saw from this bracket up here, there's not many people in that 55 plus bracket that are interested in esports. So you know, it's a little bit about targeting the right stuff. So like things like gyms, things like headsets. Like World of Tanks got in with Republic of Gamers and HyperX as their sponsors. I'm wearing a World of Tanks branded HyperX headset right now. You know, it's things like that gamers in particular will like. That's why you get, you know, streamers do giveaways. They get things like Logitech, or they get keys for games and things like that, because that's what people that watch Twitch generally like.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for younger viewers in esports, where we are absolutely savvy to advertising. We're used to, you know, how many of us would have ad blockers compared to maybe over 50s? You know, we're used to exactly what you were saying before, tuning out when messages come on that we realize are not necessarily positive for us. But it carries a lot of weight when the esport that I follow is supported by a brand. And yeah, it is absolutely that, you know, banner popping up, or that play of the day, you know, sponsored by kind of stuff that they've been doing in traditional sports for a long time, which I think is bringing a lot of success.
That's it. And the next point that YouGov makes with their analysis is that about celebrity endorsements. And I also find that another interesting thing, because once again, for me, I'm not huge on celebrities, and in fact, if you got some esports celebrities to try and endorse something for me, 9 times out of 10 I probably wouldn't know them, you know. It's
Yes.
But by the same token, I don't, like, I used to be right into my sports teams and know who played it, but now, other than the most prolific ones, I don't know who they are anymore either. So, you know, that's probably just the way I am, and the attention that I pay to social media and things outside my immediate circle these days.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how much of a role this plays as we see the esports scene in Oceania gearing up a little bit more. You know, you look at Pabu from PGG. He's an example of a player that I think has been building himself up quite well, and, you know, getting a little, you know, he likes to be a little bit edgy, but something that is, I think, positively building the scene, and those are the kinds of local celebrities that might be able to benefit from this. You know, if Pabu says, this is the green hair dye I buy, you might get a lot of people picking up that brand. So that'll be a really interesting area of growth, whether the superstars of esports in Australia are going to be able to pick up independent advertising deals alongside their teams.
And I hope they do, because that would be a very good moneymaker for them. Like, because esports in Australia is still in its infancy, and there's not a lot of money in it for the players. And being able to pick up sponsorship deals would help to no end on what they need to do to be able to make a living from esports.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's certainly a lot of management agencies that are working to build on that, you know, big esports and a few others working in the space that I think could really be maybe almost, I don't want to say ambulance chasing, but could be chasing these young kids that are in the LCO and playing Rainbow Six Siege and saying, hey, you know, do you want to raise your profile more? Do you want to be more active on social media? Because we can get you deals.
And particularly in League of Legends and LCO, I feel like what Pentanet did at MSI, and like their followers on Twitter exploded. Like they went from about 1,000 to 10,000 just in that event because of what they were doing on social media and how accessible their players were to and willing to be able to put stuff up and have a chat about stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. And it might also be because we're looking at younger groups of people, but we're on social media more. So we're certainly more engaged with celebrities that are on these platforms, and the players themselves are naturally on these platforms, you know, compared to some of your AFL or NFL or NRL players that, you know, might not be native social media users. So something about it comes across as more genuine to me.
Well, I always remember in particular with the West Coast Eagles, because they're my AFL team, and Nick Naitanui is a huge player in AFL, hugely marketable. And you look at some of his early interviews, he is awkward as hell. Like, he doesn't know where to put his hands. He doesn't know how to talk to people. Like, it's... Oh, yeah, look him up. There are some seriously weird interviews there. Yeah. But then as he's gone on, like, because West Coast Eagles are a super rich team, they've got the media training that they do, and, like, as he's gone on, he's gotten the training, he's gotten more comfortable with it. But sometimes, like, players like Parbu and even, like, Biopanther and Chaz, they've just got that little larrikin attitude that seems to play off well, you know?
Yeah. I don't know what about it is. Don't know what about it is for me. But when I see these guys using their social media, it feels like they are genuinely native to it. They're comfortable in the space, and it just drives engagement a bit more naturally. So I don't know what the magic sauce is, but it's working, and it's there to be used if the advertisers want.
That's it, and that's what I feel like things like GGWP, who, you know, Natty, you spoke to Jack Scarrett with about GGWP a while back, and I feel that they're there to build those, not just streamers, but the players in the esports, so they build their own brand, because that's important in building what you're about, so that if people do move between teams, it happens. And if it does happen, you want to have an extra arrow in your bow to be able to go, hey, I can bring this as well. This is my personal Twitter following that I can reach people on. And that all adds up to how marketable you are and what return on investment the advertisers can get.
Yeah, 1,000%. Now, I wouldn't mind moving on to this next graph.
The one
might get a little bit political. We apologise in advance.
Is it the social issues one, or Look, what are your views on that one, Natty?
Look, it's no quiet secret. I have recently watched a Bo Burnham special Inside, and he actually has a little segment in it talking about it's quite tongue-in-cheek, talking about brands getting involved and perhaps overreaching in social issues. So, you know, a company that sells baked goods having an opinion on social issues that, you know, they might not have anything to do with each other, and how that can come across as being disingenuous. And I certainly lean that way when you come across, you know, Pride Month or Black History Month, and companies that you'd never hear squeak about from the whole year on these issues all of a sudden are getting involved for views and likes. So I don't know if I necessarily fall into the esports fan section of this graph. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same, and when it comes to social issues, I feel that it has to be internally in your org or in your company where that stuff needs to be taken care of. Once again, a little bit left of field, but I always remember when airport security started to tighten and like there were all these extra checks going on, and then you hear all the airport security people going, this stuff's just highly visible and it has next to no impact. All the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see, that's what's stopping, you know, the attacks and stuff like that. And I feel that's a similar sort of thing for social issues as it applies to companies and organizations. It's the stuff in the background that you're not going to hear about if it's all working fine. It's when it explodes, like it did with Activision Blizzard or any number of companies out there where they've just got massive systemic problems, which I could probably rant on for a whole lot of time. But like, to me, changing your profile picture to be rainbow, like, that's, I won't say the worst kind of activism, because it's at least showing something, but a lot of what happens with that sort of stuff is, I'll change my profile picture for a week. That's great. So you support it, but you're not actually going to go out of your way to do anything meaningful. Yeah,
I really am very much a proofs in the pudding kind of person. So, I mean, I think we actually had a chat on the Regular Gold podcast about the FlyQuest logo update.
Yeah.
And FlyQuest is an esports team that have actively involved in causes around looking after the environment. You know, it's been a mandate for them and something they've been raising money for a long time. So for them, it's very genuine, and they're allowed, like, I feel fine with them wearing it on their sleeve and updating their logo and being loud and proud about it, because you can see that reflected in their actions.
That's it. Yeah, the logo reflects what they're doing in real life, as opposed to just changing it because, yeah, look at us, we're green.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. So we could go on about this forever, but maybe we won't.
Yeah, like sorry, it's one of my big bugbears about those companies that make all the right noises, but behind the scenes they don't practice what they preach.
Yeah. So maybe we do fall into this purple, but also like it to be genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this next one about high street fashion, what motivates your choice of shop? I'm not really getting what that's asking. Yeah.
So...
yeah.
I'm guessing it's just the general question of whether advertising impacts where they choose to shop. Yeah,
it might be like high street fashion might refer more to higher quality clothing. That's what reading this little section here. Esports fans have different values that marketers need to be aware of. For example, when it comes to purchasing clothes, esports fans put a much higher emphasis on product quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, High Street is talking about the higher end brands, and I mean, it's interesting. You know, the last few years we've seen a big push with a lot of the esports teams doing their own merch, and we've seen some of those teams have a really high emphasis on quality and talking about, you know, teeing into the last question as well. You know, the ethical manufacturing of this kind of stuff, and pairing with high-end brands like gosh, my brain is frying now. One of the teams teamed up with like a high-end watch manufacturer, as part of a big campaign for them. So I think it can be a really good partnership, considering that esports fans seem to care about this stuff a little bit more. So yeah, I'm probably out of my depth on this one, because I will only buy merch for, you know, my team.
Yeah.
And I just care if it's got my team's logo on it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I bought
Yeah.
the PGG jersey, the Indigenous one that they had made when they went over to MSI. That is a really nice shirt. Like, it's the same material as a lot of the sports jerseys around for your AFL and your NRL teams, and it is really nice. And like, when I bought it, it was like $60 or $70 or something, and I was kind of going, "Ooh, that's a little bit expensive," but it's good quality, and it's worth the money, and it's going to last a while. Plus, I've got my gamer tag on the back and on the sleeve, so I'm happy with that too. Yeah. So this one I find a little bit. Well, I guess it's probably more saying where the audience is for TV subscription services and stuff like that, where the esports fans, like Netflix, there almost 45% of them have Netflix, and then there's some stuff between Amazon and Disney. Interestingly, SBS On Demand is like right there as well, which is, I find, quite interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I'd so badly wanted to get into the research of this, because I think there would be a massive overlap with services like KO. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
KO, the sports
KO,
one? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, more sports-aligned streaming services, just because of esports fans having quite a heavy crossover with traditional sports. So another thing that I really would have loved is other streaming services captured here, so things like, you know, YouTube, Red, and like music streaming as well. Like, I think this is quite a narrow picture for seeing where the crossovers are.
Yeah, because I don't think, like, particularly when it comes to esports, I don't feel any of those services there are reflected in where esports is watched. Like, Twitch must be 90% of esports, but even then, like, VODs get uploaded to YouTube as well, so it's like the two biggest players in the esports arena, and they're not there. Yeah, it's
I'm not sure what point they were necessarily making.
Yeah, well, and especially because, like, it's interesting that Netflix is one of the bigger ones, but you can't advertise on Netflix, as much as Netflix every now and then will come out and be investigating that. Between Netflix, Amazon, and Disney, you can't advertise on those.
I saw the most interesting thing today. Sorry, excuse me.
That's right. I'm going to let you talk about that while I get a tissue. Sorry.
Oh, excellent. So on this design channel I watch, they were talking about how there are advertising spaces in old TV shows and old movies. So, you know, there might be a Coca-Cola can, or there might have been a reference to a movie poster behind where the characters are talking. And what they're doing now is, when they're rerunning these shows, they're actually putting new advertising in those spaces. So it might have been that they only had a once-off deal with that brand, so they can swap it out with something else for the rerun, or it could be that they're actually updating the logo. So, you know, they've got an old school 90s Coca-Cola can, and they can swap it out for a modern Coca-Cola can. So there's opportunities within the media itself, but I don't know how that ties into esports so much at all. So yes, I'm not too sure. I've got too much else to say with that. I really think that with esports fans, there'd be way more crossover with things like, Spotify. There's been shown time and time again the connections between music and esports, and all the opportunities that's had. We saw the Rainbow Six programming here in Australia connect with a local Australian band for the theme song for the first half of the year. for their tournaments, and I think that is more something that's an opportunity rather than.
Well, even at the moment, the LCO in their breaks, they've got a track that they highlight, and I think I think they do that through Spotify. So like they highlight the artist, and then they've got their generic music that they play as well. But the first track in a break is always a Spotify track. But you're right. It does need to be like. And I feel that that's where the advertising is going to come from it a bit more. Is not so much through going to platforms like Twitch and saying, "Cool, I want to put my ad," because you can't really specify, "I want it on this channel at this time." It's going to come through individual arrangements with things like the LCO or the Tony Hawk Pro Skater one, or whatever our local Rainbow Six Siege competition is, and doing things like selling naming rights or making it so that your little thing pops up in the bottom corner somewhere for like just a little flash for advertising, or like in World of Tanks where Republic of Gamers and HyperX and even us, Game On Aus, get our logo on a billboard in the game maps, so it's bits and pieces like that are unintrusive. But I'll tell you what, when you're right there and a tank's right underneath it, they get some good viewing happening. There's lots of eyes that are on that. So it's an interesting thing that about how you can advertise in esports, because it's I don't feel traditional ads are going to work. And what Kaiji Kai says in chat, I feel a lot of people say as well, because he's saying advertising points me in the opposite direction. If I see an ad for something, especially during a YouTube video, I'm going to 100% avoid that product. And I feel that's the reaction that a lot of internet viewers have when especially with mid-roll ads or with YouTube ads that just pop up in the middle of stuff, and it's just like people want to skip them as quick as they can. They don't actually want to watch them, and I feel like you've got to make it unobtrusive somehow, or if you're going to do that sort of a thing, you need to make it a social media post instead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that this kind of leans into the next point a little bit. Like they're looking at the esports fans that love to see their favorite team sponsored by a cool sponsor. So I mean, I guess the definition of cool is individual.
Yeah.
But if I think if it's a brand that is already connecting with that group of people, and we were talking about it before with the gym memberships and the Uber Eats, like delivery services, you can see the impact that has. People don't react as negatively to it compared to YouTube, where you're getting an ad that is just being broadly served that might not have anything to do with what you're interested in.
Yeah, it's like you say, what is cool? Like it's
yes.
It's a very subjective term, and like, is the product cool, or are their ads cool? Because there's lots of beer ads out there that are great, but like VB had a great ad campaign, but their beer tastes like shit. So it's an interesting thing, and like even the next bit where it says, if you sponsor my team, I will buy your products, and I actually think it's quite telling that the neither agree or disagree is in there, because a lot of it is going to depend on, do you have a need for that product?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Like everybody can look at something and go, oh, I love that keyboard looks cool, or that bit of software does something really awesome and I want to get that. But if you're not in the market for it, then you're not going to be looking to buy. But like you say, I think it does have an impact. Like you say, with DoorDash sponsoring the LCO, it because even myself, like I try not to get the delivery services because they're quite expensive, but I was looking at it the other night and I go, oh look, DoorDash, let's give them a try, you know. So even I've gotten something from them, and because it does make a bit of a difference if you're looking to use that service or product anyway, and you see them advertised through something that you like, you go, oh cool, well I'll support them, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to scroll down and just skip over a couple of graphs just to the
Actually,
DoorDash and LCO, because I really liked this and how it was showing that not only was buzz, as in I wish they had a better definition of buzz here, but I believe that is like social media spread of the message for the services. Buzz there is quite, you know, elevated, considering in the esports group, you can see there that.
Well, considering like the peaks and troughs that they had, because this purple line is the buzz among esports fans in particular. The buzz in general stays a little bit until this point, which I'm pretty sure, you know, that's corresponding with the peaks in esports. But yeah, you can see that there's a definite uptake, particularly in esports patrons, when the sponsorship with the LCO, not LOC like they've got there, but, close but not quite there. But yeah, you can definitely see that there was an uptake once they'd announced that sponsorship deal.
Oh my goodness, that's not the best typo to have, is it?
Well, they haven't quite spelt league right either, I noticed earlier, but we'll forgive that. Yeah.
Sorry, my nursing brain's kicking in with loss of consciousness for LOC, and I'm just like, oh, that's not good.
I feel bad because, like, I knocked up a couple of stories for the website today that were just, for Game On Aus website, they were just really quick ones to get some information out there. And, like, I read things like 3 or 4 times and I still make mistakes. And, there was a couple of things I did not wrong. And I feel sorry for whoever put this out, because this would have, the reports like this would have gone out through 5 different people at least before it got put up, and they all missed that. So it's
oh look, and that's the power of a good editor.
Yep, that's it. Yeah.
Editors are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah. But yeah, it's what's of interest to me is this consideration line. So consideration among esports fans, and there was a dip right before it was announced, and then it started trending upwards again and hit peaks above that.
Yeah, I see. They haven't really defined consideration here too much, but I mean, I think that's possibly just the actual use of the service. So buzz is, you know, how the word's spreading around, but consideration is, am I downloading and using the app?
They don't
no data definitions. Terrible.
Yeah.
So that would be my assumption based on the label that they put on that. Very interesting.
I think it's also important to point out as well that this is naming rights. So every time the LCO gets mentioned, it's DoorDash LCO. So their name is getting out there a whole lot. And I remember seeing, I think it might have been towards the end of MSI, you know, they got MacMate, who's one of the more charismatic people around in that sort of presenting community there, and they had him on an ad for DoorDash, and that was like a really entertaining ad. So like there's obviously been some work between the LCO and DoorDash going on, and it wasn't until this split that they've gone, and part of that may have been because they got split one together and they weren't sure how it was going to go after Riot closed the OPL. So it's there's probably a whole heap of factors that went into that, but the fact you can, even if it is naming rights and it's a big level of sponsorship, you can still see a definite uptake in brand recognition that comes out of this.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing, other than some of the things we couldn't quite get our heads around, really screams to me. If you're trying to reach a younger person who has an interest in esports, we are looking to buy things from cool companies that are looking to sell things.
Hell yeah.
And at the end of the day, we do care about social issues. We do care about higher end products. We do seem to apparently have more expendable income. So all of those things add up to putting your dollars
That one
into
I'm still
esports.
not sure about. Like, got more disposable income, you know.
It's because we're all renting.
Where was it? Oh yeah, we stopped buying that smashed Avo, and here it is. Yeah. That. But there's definitely some spots that are lacking in this report, like some more definitions, and like I don't know if there's a full.
Oh, you probably have to pay for it.
Quite probably.
To be honest, the full
report. Because that will have definitions and methodologies and things like that, and.
Yeah, well, my biggest concern about putting too much weight in this kind of stuff is, they haven't specified how many people they've surveyed, or where they've gotten a lot of this information from.
They did say at the beginning, data from YouGov, an international research data and analytics group. YouGov leverages its consumer profiling profiles to segment, profile, and target esports fans, and clearly demonstrates that esports fans are an untapped market for Australian marketers. Yeah. So it's whatever this tool is. I don't know how widespread it is. I don't work in marketing, so I don't know if it's a big thing. But it may even tap into some Google APIs to see what people are searching for and things like that. So it's.
Yeah, it's interesting. My concern would specifically be around the attitude statements. So if you sponsor my team, I'll buy your products. I like cool things, high street fashion, like those kind of statements. They'd have to be doing surveys, and we don't know if that's 20 people or 200 or 2,000. So that's my concern.
Mm-hmm. I didn't notice.
Nevertheless, interesting.
Oh no, that was the number around spectators when JB Hi-Fi sponsored the Melbourne Esports Open.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an interesting thing, and I think that there's more room for it, and I think that it has to be done in a clever way, because I feel that this generation doesn't respond well to traditional ads unless it's like very, very well done, or that right side of cringe that makes it funny.
We're suckers for that.
Yeah,
ironic satire.
That's it. Or so bad it's good sort of stuff. But I think the way it's going to go is more, not quite product placement, but more of that sort of less obtrusive. Marketing where something impressive will happen in game, and like the replay will pop up and it'll be a specific brand or something that sponsors that. And because I know the AFL does that. I don't watch a lot of NRL, so I don't know it. But like for every goal replay that flashes up, there's a different one of their major sponsors that comes up. So maybe events get sponsored by multiple big companies, or have multiple major sponsors, and something like that happens. Or it's an interesting thing, and I like it from a point of view of that it's more money for esports, so that they can develop talent, it can get more eyes on the sport, and just things like that.
We've seen traditional sports master this, like the NBA having an official timekeeper with Swiss. Like this is something we can do in esports. We can levy out all of these advertising opportunities. So the little clock that's in game has a little Swiss logo next to it. It can happen. We can do it. It just has got to happen over time. The advertisers have got to have confidence in the market, and I think stuff like the LCO with DoorDash, those graphs that we saw, is a good indication that hopefully more budget will be put toward this. So
I do feel that some of the naming could be easier to understand. Like it's one of the things that I think World of Tanks did well in that, one, it's a reasonably straightforward esport to understand. You go and you shoot the other tanks, it's all good. And even the variety, because one of the things that normally trips people up on entry into esports, I feel, is the variety in different characters you can pick. So like League of Legends has all the different champions, Rainbow Six Siege has all the different operators, World of Tanks has a number of different tanks you can choose, but and knowing what each of those champions or operators or tanks do is really hard for the individual people to know. Whereas, you're watching a sport, that guy's bigger than that guy, so that guy that's bigger is going to mark the ball easier. It's easier to see. But and I think that with World of Tanks, when they named teams after cities or locations, that sort of made it a bit easier for the average Joe to go, I don't really know what's going on, but they're from my city or they're close to my city, so I'm going to go for them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a little bit about the literacy of the sport or the esport, but it's also about being able to create genuine connection. And for an esport like World of Tanks to go, hey, we're just going to name these teams after cities, that is just the smartest thing in the world they can do. Because an uneducated fan is going to be making a decision over some kind of loyalty that they have already. And that could be as simple as, that team's colour is blue, I'm going to go for that team. Or that's, the name of my city, I'm going to go for them. So there's lots of opportunities there for esports to open themselves up a little bit more to that. But the other area I think we're going to make massive inroads is esports betting. Which is a curly thing, I know, for people, but sports betting has existed for a long time, and it's a way for a lot of fans to get their foot in the door to actually care about the sport that's happening. I have a bit of a joke with my friends because I don't care anything about NFL, and we watch the Super Bowl, and I'll always put a silly bet on. So, like, pick something like, are they going to tip the Gatorade over the coach? Like, I'll bet, like, place a really small bet on something like that just to get me invested. And I think that, I know that gambling's a different topic altogether. We can definitely talk about that another day, but that is certainly another area of growth for the sport, and where more sponsorship dollars can come in if that's where we go.
I hate that you're right that it can bring in more sponsorship dollars, but I have a big problem with gambling, and I think a lot of that is because over here in Western Australia, we've only got one casino. There's no RSLs. There's no places that you can just go and put your money down or put it into a slot machine like that. That's not the casino, so you have to make a special trip to go there. And I just, that's probably it's probably a discussion for another time. Yes, but I can't.
It's a hairy topic, and definitely got a lot of ethical considerations and moral considerations.
But I can't deny the amount of money that is in gambling that it could bring into esports.
We will definitely talk about this another day.
I think we've actually, like, as we're going through, I should have been writing them down, because I reckon there's a few good topics for another deep dive, because we've been going for more than an hour now with nuts and bolts. So this was the longest show we've done so far, and
there's nothing like some good data to troll through to have a discussion about.
Yeah. And I think having a good topic as well, like, because the way esports are going to grow is with more advertising, and I think that's for esports orgs to identify where they can put sponsors' logos or what value add they can have is a great thing. So I hope that there's a full report for this, and lots of orgs have gotten hold of it and can go, not just like the leagues, but the teams themselves, so that they can say, this is what we can do to sponsors. PGG is quite lucky in the fact that they're owned by a company, so there's a bit of money behind them there, but like I'd like to see other teams follow the Dam1 Gaming model, where we're Dam1 Kia now.
Take that graph, go to your local Mazda and say, hey, guys, sponsor us, because one in 4, 1 in 5 of our audience members want to buy a car.
Hell, was it freaking in the AFL in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a player called Gary Hocking for Geelong who changed his name to Whiskers Hocking for one game. So like the whole, yeah. And it was a whole marketing stunt, and all the commentary team had to call him Whiskers for the whole game. And yeah. And people have done crazy things in the name of sponsorship. So get out there. And just quietly, I don't have a cat, but Whiskers, I will change my name to Whiskers Jim. If you want to come and give me some money, I'm quite happy to do that. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. The amount of pets, or like dogs and cats and random birds, like get in on it. Get in on it. Whiskers and Pal and I don't know what else there is in that regard. City farmers, get into it, city farmers. Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of people our age that have pets instead of kids, that expendable market is huge.
Yep, cool. All right, well, that might be it for us for Nuts and Bolts. That was a good little deep dive into that.
Yeah, look, I think I'm going to need to be more prepared because, like, I'm starting to fade. I might need to bring some lollies next time to keep me bouncing. Yeah,
bit of sugar rush. And maybe I'll keep a box of tissues nearby so I don't have to duck out to get that. But
I do appreciate the interaction this time. Thanks, Kaiju, for popping in, and also Stuart with the
redeems.
Reminder.
I did take a couple of sips in the middle there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and looking forward to the LCO Grand Final next week to see who gets to go to Worlds.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. That is. Looking forward to it.
All right, but we will see you next week.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Jim. See you.
I forgot something. I forgot the outro read.
Oh, don't forget the outro.
Yeah, we've got to do that because
I'm ready.
All right, we'd like to thank GeForce Now, powered by Pentanet, for supporting today's show. If you want to experience powerful real-time cloud gaming in Australia this October, register your interest at www.cloud.gg. Definitely get amongst it. It's going to be amazing.
And if anybody's interested in that, they can stick around because you're gonna show people through that, aren't you?
That's it. I'm going to have a little quick break, and then we're going to go into going to show that off, and hopefully, if it works, we're going to play some Psychonauts as well. So,
fingers crossed. That'll be exciting.
Yep. So stick around, and we'll be back in a second. Bye. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch this video. If you like what you've seen, why not check out this video here? Or if you really like us, drop us a subscribe. And don't forget to like and comment as well. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.